Greetings, students, and welcome to this episode of The Professor Travel. I am your host, The Professor Travel, coming to you from Southern California. This is the website, the vlog, and the podcast that you come to in order to learn more about different travel destinations. Hopefully, this will inspire you to travel more and enjoy life more, but come together as a community in order to discuss these different locations. Now, you can reach me on a variety of different social media platforms, of course, starting with my website at theprofessortravel.com. On YouTube, on Facebook, and now on TikTok. You can find me there at The Professor Travel. If you're a Instagrammer, you can find me on there at the_professor_travel. If you're a Twitter, you can find me on Twitter at The Professor TR1. And then finally, if you're a blogger, you can find me on Blogspot at theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce you to two visiting professors, Neil and Kimberly Jonker. How are you both doing today?
Very
Great.
well.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about you and your travel channel, but before we get started, I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your credentials, either educational background or maybe some places that you've traveled before.
Ladies first.
Well, Neil and I are both certified international tour managers, and we both went to school for that. I am currently working as a travel agent, and we do a lot of group travel and things like that. I've been to coming up on 20 countries.
Oh, nice.
Actually, I counted, and it's more like 21.
Is it?
Well, it's going to be in May. Yes, got to add another one.
So go ahead.
Oh, that is where you stop?
I'm stopping. Now it's you.
All right, fair enough. So my name is Neil, and
Oh, I'm Kimberly.
yeah, it would be good to mention you. Anyway,
Okay.
me and Kimberly are both the founders of To Travel and Tour, our YouTube channel.
What's education?
And yeah, I know Kimberly.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, like Kimberly, I'm a certified international tour manager, and I've been to 25 countries, coming up on 26 here soon when we visit the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
And yeah, I've always had, I grew up traveling. I've lived in 5 different countries at this point in time, and I simply cannot imagine a life without travel.
And
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
he's originally from the Netherlands too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
Wonderful. You guys brought up a really interesting subject. And before we actually move on to the next slide, I'd love to ask you, what exactly is a tour manager?
Great question.
yeah, we attended IGA, which is the International Guide Academy, and they train guides and tour directors.
Okay.
Now, what Neil and I do, being tour managers or tour directors, is that we are responsible for getting the group from point A to point B to point C. We are with the group the whole time from the beginning of the trip to the end on like guided trips. So now you might have individual guides for individual areas. Like if you're in Rome, you might have an individual guide for, say, the Colosseum.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be up to us to make sure that the group got there to meet the guide.
And then after that particular tour is done, then we move on with the very same group, whereas the tour guide continues to move on with the next group at the Colosseum.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense then. So the guides are more specialists in just their specific tour or their specific area, and you are working on an entire trip for the person
Yes.
and piecing that together. That makes sense. Okay, perfect. So before we jump into your travel channel, I would love to know a little about you. You guys both met when you guys were working together or going through the educational process together in travel, or how did that happen?
That's not how it unfolded.
No, not at all.
How did you meet? Talk to me about this. Who are you? How did you meet? And why is travel a passion for you both?
Well, for me, I will say this. I reached a point in my life and I realized I had never seen the ocean. My family never traveled growing up. It wasn't something that we did. And at some point I decided I had never seen the ocean. I was a grown up and I'm like, I'm going. And I started cruising. And that was a lot of years ago.
Okay.
And I've just never stopped. How Neil and I met actually had nothing at all to do with travel.
No, zero. How this came about was we just wanted to play a game online.
Yes, we were playing an online game.
And we were not looking for anything really.
No,
We
just
just
to play
wanted
in
to
a
play
game.
a game and just have some fun playing the game. That is all. And yet, we ended up in the same group that was playing that particular game.
Yeah, it was an international game.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it was called Perfect World.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, but not.
That's my game.
Yeah, it's like it has its own storyline. It's more so based on Oriental mythology, and it was a lot of fun playing it. So we played that for a while in the same group. Then we argued like a husband and wife, right?
Oh
from the
my
start.
gosh! From day one, all we did was yell at each other.
And yeah, because we are rather different from each other, let's say.
Maybe.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
And then we ended up deciding, you know what, this might be more fun in real life.
And so we yelled at each other for about a year.
Yeah.
And then we decided we liked it. And then he decided to come see me.
Yeah. And
Nice.
then we went into this phase of, that is where the travel began back and forth.
Yeah.
So it also
And
included
that was
Kimberly's very first trip to Europe.
Oh, nice.
So yes, that we made that quite memorable with visits to Germany and France.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Netherlands.
And the Netherlands, yes, where I was living at the time. And yeah, well, then 2013 came around ultimately, and that's when we got married.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Well, congratulations to you both. That was awesome. And so, so for Kimberly, your passion was really because you didn't get a lot of travel at the beginning of your life, and then it was just like you wanted to move forward with that process.
You know what? I think it was always something that was missing for me.
Okay.
And then, like I said, I realized at some point, what am I doing? Why, it's something that I desire. And I've always been, I've worked from the time I was 15. And then sometimes I might have had 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs. And I just kept going at that pace and going at that pace and going at that pace. And I have children too, and that's with kids. And at some point I'm like, what am I doing? What am I teaching them? That there's this whole world out there.
Yeah.
And so I started traveling. And like I said, I haven't stopped. But for me, it was something I've always wanted. But then I think what it was is it was very much in my mind that it was out of my reach.
Okay.
And I think that's what a lot of people make the mistake. You can travel rather affordably if you know how to.
True. Very true.
That makes sense. And that's a great idea to want to use a travel consultant in order to save money on that and to work in conjunction with them in order to make that a smoother process for everybody.
You know what, too? And I don't think people realize either. I'm going to say this about travel agencies or travel agents. Mm-hmm. They think that it's going to cost them more to use a travel agent, where in fact, most time it's going to save them money. Because whether you buy, say, a cruise, for me, you book a cruise with me, or you book a cruise directly with, say, Princess Cruise Lines, it's going to be normally the same price. But what I'll be able to do for you or another travel agent is to kind of look at other things, look at different dates, or your particular agency might have something going on that they get an extra $50 worth of credit or an extra this or an extra that because they've blocked out rooms. But it never costs them more. It can only cost them less. Which
is great. Now, let me switch over to Neil for just one second. Now, Neil, you were saying that you've lived in 5 countries previously, and through that, was it just something that you were used to traveling, or what really inspired you to have kind of a passion for traveling? Because obviously you have a channel. So
yes, so basically I grew up traveling. I don't know any better but to get on an airplane and go somewhere. And for me, the idea that there are people out there in this world that have not is just completely unfathomable for me. And I find it in a way fascinating, and on the other way, it's like I feel bad for those people because they didn't get to experience the great things that this world has to offer. And that's very hard for me to imagine. So I grew up traveling on a very early age, but the way I travel, I would say, is vastly different now from the way I traveled back then growing up with my parents. My parents were very much about bringing the country where we're from to the country we're visiting. So if we would visit, then there would be 2 big grocery bags with food and everything that came along. And well, you can kind of figure out by now how I feel about that. So when we went to Greece the one time,
oh my gosh.
I remember I was standing on the balcony of our room, and down below there was this chef making an absolutely delicious looking meal out of, on a charcoal grill or whatever he was using. And it smelled fantastic, but no, my parents didn't want to hear about it. They wanted their French fries and I don't know what else, but very things that you could get at home. And well, that is not the way I prefer to travel. When I go to a different country, I want to experience the culture, experience the food, experience all those things that particular country has to offer. And so I always had that fondness of travel. And then, I get to the time of college and everything, and there was a bit of a hiatus. But to say that I was no longer interested in travel, no, that was absolutely not the case. It's just that, I had things to take care of, and there was simply not a whole lot of opportunity to do so, both from a time point of view and a financial point of view. But now, those times have changed, obviously, and we're now more in a position that we can travel more in different places. And so we have fully picked that back up again. And to the point now that it has truly become our life goal, basically, to travel continuously.
That's
but
beautiful.
We feel like a home base.
Yes, we do like to have a home base, a place to, come back to and all that. But it is not uncommon for us to come home and then already start talking about the next trip.
Okay.
I think a lot of people do that. Yeah.
We were actually talking, on our last trip to Mexico, we were in the pool with our group talking about where we were going next. So by the time we got home, I was already looking into Punta Cana for the group. And by the end of that week, we were already booked.
You bring up a really good point about something, and I should mention it really quick. When people travel, especially on cruises, it's a little bit different because, if I go with my partner to a hotel in Hawaii or something like that, that's fine. We visit, we may pass people in the hallways, but we don't really sit down and dine with people. We don't go on, we may go on a tour with someone, but then they're kind of like a single serving friend and we're like, okay, bye. We never crack them again. But when you're on a cruise, you're with someone for a week in some cases. My partner is a smoker. And so, we were in a smoking section. We got to meet with a lot of different people there, and we went on tours with them. We came back. We had an opportunity to have drinks with them. We all shared meals. So when you're looking at cruising, like you may mention, sometimes you have those situations where you make friends for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting dynamic, which, by the way, leads us into another passion of yours, which is your channel. So when was this developed and why? So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, Neil and I have been going back and forth about whether we wanted to start a channel. Because granted, like I said, with the tour managing and we wanted to have our life revolve around our passion, which is travel. And we've kind of positioned ourselves in a way that we could do that. And so we talked about it, then it was like, no, I don't think we should. And it was like, well, maybe we should. Then it was like, and then he was more like, yeah, I think we should try this. And I'm more like,
yeah, you were more on the fence.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But and so it was last February, right before the pandemic started. And we were on a cruise.
Oh, wow.
And we were on a cruise ship and we were in the pool.
While it was raining.
Because that's me and Neil.
Yeah.
You're going to get wet.
Yeah, exactly.
We were the only ones in there.
Yeah.
And we were having a good time. And walking past.
Yeah, just like that.
I saw Dawn.
Yeah, from Dawn's Family Vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's Dawn.
Yeah.
That's Dawn.
We have been watching his vlogs for a while.
And of course, he walked on by, and then, we're on the cruise ship because we're on the Divina, actually.
Mhm.
And we're going, okay, we're like trying to do a dawn sighting, right? And then I think it was that evening or the next evening in the theater.
Yeah, we went to a show.
We went to a show, and lo and behold, Dawn is sitting in the front row with Tony
From La Liga Loca.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like, hey,
We know you two.
We know you guys. And we started talking, and ended up talking with them a good bit throughout the next, the week.
Mhm.
And they were very encouraging.
Yes.
You
awesome
know,
guys,
you
for
guys
sure.
should really, try this. Go ahead, see how it goes. And
Yeah.
Dawn's like, my first videos were awful, and just see how you like it, and it's a great community, a very welcoming community. And now, granted, theirs are more geared towards cruising, where we're
Mhm.
more general travel.
Yeah.
Because that's what we wanted.
Which is fine. And in fact, I think you bring up a very good point. When I started my channel, which was in August of 2019, I'd been pondering it for like half a year. And then I was on a cruise in the Mediterranean, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? The best advice I got was from another person who runs a podcast who was putting this together, and said, you know what? Just put one video out there. Just try it. Just do something. It can look horrible. You'll probably hate it. But the fact of the matter is, you're just starting a path, and you'll refine it, and you'll refine that, and you'll continue to refine it, and you'll get better and better as you go through this. And then you'll start to develop what kind of content do I want to develop, and where am I going to put it, and how often do I want to put it out there? So I think they had a really good point. And to anybody that's out there that's interested in travel vlogging, have an idea as you go through this process. Put your own spin on it, because that's the thing that makes it unique, is that it's you that's doing this, not anybody else. And you're a unique and individual entity to itself. But I digress. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to go
That's all right.
That
there.
was a very good point.
I do want to add something to that, because how to travel and tour started is certainly not what it is today, and it will never be that again in the future either, because we never imagined in 1,000 years that it would actually turn more so into a whole community rather than just a channel. And because at first we were not even sure if we wanted to start live streams.
We didn't really have a plan.
No, it was, well, we did, but we didn't. I mean, circumstances happen, and you kind of adjust accordingly. That's kind of what ended up happening. So we started, okay, let's put some videos out, and all right. Then we get into the whole live stream part, which turned out to be a very nice addition to our channel that we enjoy doing. That is the big thing. We actually enjoyed it. Like, the cruisathon came about, and then Blaine from Raleigh Creative Travel, he got us a spot in that. He's the mastermind behind the cruisathons, and we really enjoyed doing it. But it also gave us an opportunity there to meet a lot of fellow travelers, and introduce them to our channel that way. And that is when I would say the start of the community really began. And now it is to the point that we rather think of To Travel and Tour as a community rather than a channel. And
it's a great perspective. Actually.
Hence the group tours and all that we are working on now, putting together. The first group tour came around only last year, in September, October, something like that.
We did Mexico, of course.
And
it was open.
And then we never stopped group tours since.
No.
And now for the Dominican Republic, we are already a dozen people coming along.
About a dozen, yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So it's really
singles, couples, all kinds of ages. I don't think that you and I have a demographic.
No, we don't. we don't. No,
we don't.
From multiple angles, we don't. So it doesn't matter how old you are, and it doesn't matter where you're from, because we very much position ourselves as an international travel channel, technically interactive international channel.
How many countries have visited our live streams at this point?
Our live streams or our channel?
Our live streams. Well, what do you know our channel? How do you know our channel? How do you know?
There's a thing in YouTube called analytics.
Yeah, but that doesn't do.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. But anyways, in terms of the amount of people that have visited our live streams, you're looking at approximately 40 different countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have a question for you both. In
Certainly.
considering the tours that you guys and the packages that you put together for the groups, do you take into consideration people who might have limited mobility and may not be able to do that? And so what does that package look like when you involve individuals that might have some of those challenges and may not be able to keep up with a more active group?
Well, a lot depends on what we're doing. Now, like I said, these all-inclusive resorts. I'm always very upfront about the level of activity that we're looking at. I mean, there's not a whole lot of activity with on the all-inclusive resorts, but with that being said, if somebody has a problem with steps or things like that, I will make sure to request to the hotel that they are in a ground floor room.
Okay.
Things like that. It depends on how much extra help that they would need. If like we're looking at I've just started putting together a tour, hopefully for February to Egypt.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Hopeful. You should join us.
I'll have to have a conversation about you with that.
Yes. And I'm starting to look at that, but that is going to be a rather active tour.
Okay.
You know, and if someone wanted to join us, I would let them know up front the activity level. And then it's up to them if they feel that they can keep up with that activity level. If they can't, what I can do is find them a tour that would be more suited to their activity level.
Okay, so you're able to, everybody's not on the same path. You might have people that can veer off and go on their own private tours, but come back to still work with the same group.
No, this would be one group, and then they would, if say, just for example, if they can't do that level of activity on this particular tour, then perhaps I might be able to find a different trip for them with people with a similar mobility.
Got it. Okay.
That they could attend. Because I'm not personally going to go on a trip that is all skydiving and zip line.
Why not? Come on.
Because it's neither of us. But so that's not a trip that I would go on. Just like this trip with this level of activity and going into, because we might go into the pyramids, which you can do, and things like that, that might not be for everybody. Okay. So I would suggest that they picked a different trip. Like I said, I could find them one for Egypt, maybe not with our group, but with similar mobility.
But it should also be noted that even if there is a group coming with us, we do not expect them to at all times do the exact same things we do. Not at all, actually.
Now with like the all-inclusive resorts or with cruising or anything like that, if you want to go up and do your own thing,
that's perfectly okay.
That's great. We'll be here. See ya.
Yeah.
And
not a problem.
Not a problem. And like this one that we're hosting in Punta Cana, we're going to be there, Neil and I, for 2 weeks.
Yep.
We're going to be there the 15th through the 29th. Now, people are staying different numbers of nights.
Okay.
So some people wanted to do 8 nights. Some people are doing the full 14. Some people are doing 12.
So in a way, you can kind of make it modular for those people. So let's say, for example, you have a series of tours. We'll just call them A through F. And a person who's staying the full 2 weeks like you would go through potentially doing all of those tours with you. But if you have a person that arrives on like day 8 and maybe can only be there for a week, they may do C through F or something like that.
Now that's for like something like Punta Cana. Now we will, like when we went to Mexico this last time, we did have some like excursions. One was to a very nice spa. Another one was on a pirate ship. It was things that people wanted to do. But also then some of the other people booked some of their own excursions and went ahead and did to different island or whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, or I can book that for them too.
That was what I was going to ask. I was like, can you still act as kind of like a full service travel advisor for them as they go through that process? Okay.
Yes, I certainly can.
Wonderful. Excellent. So let's talk about where you've been, a little bit of information about where some of the stuff that you guys have done too. So how many continents have the two of you been to at this point?
Well, we have been to the Americas. So basically pretty much, a very good bit of North America, I'd say.
Yeah, nice amount.
So that includes like Mexico, it
Canada.
includes like Canada.
United States.
Of course, that was mine too. So
In South America, there was Colombia. We went there.
Central America.
Extensively through the Caribbean, although that's not a continent of its own, but it's in the general.
So you at least have two, and then of course you yourself came from
Europe.
I've been to Europe
Kimberly too. So
several countries.
Yeah, we're. I think if you were only to count North America, South America, and Europe, then you would be at 3.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't done Africa yet.
No.
But that's
that's February. Yep. With Egypt. And in terms of countries, you had already said, I think you, Kimberly, were at 21, and Neil, you were at 25, was it?
It's going to be 21 and 26 once we hit Ghana. Yeah, okay. But that is not counting countries or, let's say, places that are not an independent country. So, for instance, we have been to Bermuda as well, but Bermuda is part of the British Commonwealth. So it's not its own independent nation. So we don't count it as such. But
or Puerto Rico.
I think if you were to add territories, Cayman Islands, another great example. Mm-hmm. So we have been to places like that too. And if you were to add all those, then that's even more than we already have.
Spectacular. Now, since you guys have been together, do you guys always travel as couples, or have you guys traveled solo from time to time?
This has been an ongoing conversation with us.
Yes.
Normally we do travel together.
Yeah.
I have done one trip without Neil, but that was with my son.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we haven't, but there are some things that Neil is more interested in and some things that I am more interested in. And we have talked about possibly doing solo tours, like him and maybe one of the other vloggers doing, like, he's very interested in Machu Picchu and going to Peru. I don't know if I'm kind of on the fence on that one.
Okay.
But I'm interested, but I know he's going to want to do it a lot differently than I would do it.
Okay.
Because he's going to want to climb everything. He's going to want to do all that stuff. He's going to want to, hike through the wilderness for.
That's my spouse, by the way. And like my spouse would literally do bungee jumping or skydiving or whatever. And I'm like, nope, I'll take a museum. I'll, enjoy the cultural aspects, the food aspects. I'm happy about that. But some of those other things, I'm like, no, I'm okay.
Yeah. And I think he's going to want to do a lot more hiking and that kind of thing that I would want to do. And what I don't want to do is ruin the experience for him. But there are trips there are things that I like to do. Like I would like to go to the chef's table. I want to do a Cunard cruise, which he has no interest in.
Zero.
Because
not wanting to dress up really, really like in your, like 24/7. No. Okay.
That's not him.
No.
Yeah. Look at him. No.
not a suit and tie kind of guy. No.
That's totally understandable. I do want to comment on something really quick from when you were saying that, Neil, when you were saying that your parents traveled and they brought food potentially with them as well. I have a friend that I grew up whose parents, or whose father, I should say, was from Holland. So I know the quality of the cheeses and the chocolates there. And so when I say that, I understand potentially bringing some really good quality stuff. That makes perfect sense to me.
Fair enough.
Now, I do want to jump into another topic that's a little bit more pointed, and I think it's important for anybody who's maybe a first-time traveler going to different places that they may have heard of, or understanding their travel a little bit more in depth, and that's risk avertment in certain areas. How do you plan out for a travel excursion or a travel, whether it's a tour, a cruise, a flight, to a place that may be having a little bit of political upheaval or civil unrest? How do you deal with that, or what is your typical strategy to work with for that?
I would say for us, it's always been about research. Okay, to really get a feel.
That is stage one.
Stage one is really get a feel of what's going on in the area that you're interested in going to, and when in doubt, book with a group.
Okay. And there is also such a thing as, just because there is like one particular place in a country where there is a lot of unrest, it doesn't necessarily mean that in another place there's a lot of unrest.
Right.
So Spain, for instance, yes, if you go to Barcelona and there is upheaval over there, then that might not necessarily mean that all the way down south in the city of Seville there is a lot of unrest. So it would be perfectly okay to travel to Seville. There's, you're safe there.
And also too is, and I've always stressed this with people that travel or are interested in traveling, common sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I've had people say, "Oh no, I wouldn't travel there." It's a level whatever, and there's a lot of pickpockets, and there's this, and there's this, and
there are pickpockets everywhere for the most part.
Okay.
But you have to ask yourself, would you really wander off into that unknown dark alley by yourself in your hometown?
Exactly. And I've asked people that, would you really go into an alley at night by yourself where you live? And most people say, "Oh God, no." Then why would you do that on vacation?
Yeah.
It's a lot of common sense. And like I said, and if it's anything that you're questioning, definitely book with a group, because, and especially, I just think it's a good idea, because that way you have somebody like a tour manager, a tour director looking after the group. You have other people that know who you are, that know you should be with them. If you're not with them, they're going to notice this right away. Where if you're traveling on your own, it might take a little longer till somebody says, "Hey, wait a minute, we haven't heard from them."
Another thing I would like to bring up regarding this particular topic is listen to what the locals have to say in terms of instructions. So for instance, if a hurricane happens.
Oh my gosh, this is my biggest pet peeve in the world.
I knew you were going to say something like that.
Oh my gosh.
If a hurricane, which we did happen to us last year, we were there for that Hurricane Zeta hit.
Yes.
And there was a very thorough briefing on what was to be going on, how they were going to handle it, local authorities. And indeed, as you can tell, we are having this interview with you, Scott, as we speak. So we lived.
Thank you for that.
But apparently there are some folks out there that believe that they should completely ignore what the locals have to say, ignore their instructions, and just wander off into, nothingness, basically.
Well, that's the thing, is when the one hurricane was going through Mexico. Now, being in the travel and all aspects, I belong to a lot of different Facebook groups that are travel related. I'm sure you are too.
Yes.
But I belong to a lot of different resort groups as well. And to kind of keep an eye on what's going on in different areas and what people are saying about with the COVID and all of that thing, and what the restrictions are like at different resorts. That way I kind of have a finger and a kind of like a first person aspect of what's going on in different places. Well, when the one hurricane was going through, there were people posting in these Facebook groups the most idiotic things and like giving advice to people when they have no idea what they're talking about. There was somebody who told people, "Don't listen to the authorities. Don't listen to the hotel. Rent a car and get in it and drive as far and fast as you can." And I'm like,
completely pointless.
Why would you tell us? And I'm thinking to myself, there are some people that maybe aren't as well traveled and see something like that and go, "Oh my God, maybe we should do that. He must know what he's talking about."
And the absolute best argument that I can think of to just follow the instructions and the advice that the locals have to offer is this: they want your business as a traveler. So they are never going to advise you something that is going to be at their own detriment.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
it's a lot of common sense. It really is.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's the thing too, is like, I'm not going to go to an active war zone.
No.
And I would strongly advise against that.
Yeah. There are simply some places in the world that with a little bit of research, you can conclude for yourself that it is right now not a good idea to go there.
I think another, I guess, if you're a more adventurous traveler, you might want to look at, will travel insurance cover me going there? If you say no, you might want to rethink this.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of risk management, that's another thing, travel insurance.
Yeah.
Very much so. I could tell you, for me, it's when I started cruising, as an adult, just a couple of years ago, I hadn't really thought about the concept of travel insurance or, because I really don't think of cruising as an investment. I think of it as a trip. And now it's more of an investment because it's like if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on this, you just want to protect it. You protect your car with insurance, you protect a lot of other things with insurance. Why not protect this travel with insurance?
Right.
And especially the levels to which that if you're in a remote location, maybe this can help with medical expenses or even being able to get you back some of the costs if something happens. You never know.
No.
So I am 100% on that same mindset with you.
We've done something a little different this year, though. Actually, I had been always buying my insurance per trip.
Okay.
This year, we actually decided to buy it for the whole year.
I know there are a couple of places that will do that. Without mentioning names of very specific companies, you can talk with a travel agent or a travel advisor, and they can give you a lot of information on that.
Yes, exactly.
So that's very good. That's a good option for a person who definitely wants to travel a lot more.
If you're going to travel more than once a year, if you're going to even do twice, it's probably worth the money.
Yep. Now we talked about Egypt earlier, but apart from countries that you have already booked, so I want to put those to the side for just one moment. What are some countries that are on your bucket list of places that you would absolutely love to go if money was of no object and you could just leave tomorrow on whatever type of a travel excursion you wanted to go?
Well, there are several countries that come to mind, although you may be interested to hear that Egypt was for both of us the absolute #1 destination.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
And that's both of us, which that means we must
go.
There's
if we
no
agree on
debate.
something, oh my
then it is really a must do. But other than Egypt, a little while back, Kimberly already mentioned about Machu Picchu in Peru. I would be very, very interested in going there. Norway is very high on my list as well, on our list, I should say. We think it would be fantastic to sail through like all the fjords and everything and get that experience. Australia, New Zealand.
Of course.
That'd be another one. The Maldives. I mean, how can you not? I mean,
okay, if money's no object, I want to do first class Maldives the whole way.
I have this dream cruise that we actually had booked, or we hadn't booked it actually. We were going to book it last year prior to before the pandemic actually started. It's a 30-day cruise through Oceania. Starts in Dubai and goes from, listen to this. It starts in Dubai, then goes to Abu Dhabi, then Muscat, Oman, then down the west coast of India. So you're hitting Mumbai, Mangalore, Cochin, and then down to Sri Lanka, to Colombo. You dock there, then you head westbound. Now you're going to the Seychelles and the Maldives.
Oh my God.
But wait, I'm not done yet. There's more, but wait, there's more. And so then you go into the Strait of Madagascar. So you're hitting Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, and then you disembark in South Africa. And so that's through Oceania. Oceania, yeah. It was the Nautica was the specific ship that we were looking at. And so because I work in the education industry, so I already have off a couple of weeks in December when the kids are off at break. So it's like, oh, I'll just use my vacation time at the beginning of December and just stay off the entire month and boom, I'm there. So yeah, it's just one of those things that we've been seriously considering at this point moving forward. Unfortunately, because last year we had to readjust our travel plans. And so we're looking into some stuff.
Neil and I were actually in the Netherlands when the whole pandemic really got out of hand.
Yeah.
We were in March.
We were among the last ones to actually make it out without too many issues.
Yeah. That's when they were talking about shutting everything down and all that. And we came home, and it just so happened that we were booked to travel through Washington, D.C., which was one of the 13 airports you could fly back into.
Yeah.
No, it was just luck.
Did you have like a 2-week downtime that you had to have like quarantining when you came back? Yeah. Okay.
At the beginning there, yeah, that was pretty well. It wasn't mandatory. They said
highly encouraged.
Highly encouraged, yes, and we did.
Okay.
We did.
So let's talk about the types of content that you have on your channel within your community, the things that you do. We already talked about some of the group travels that you do. But before we jump into that, what is this picture of that we have on the screen right now?
Well, that right there was taken in the Netherlands near the
Castle
city of
Haar.
Utrecht. It was Castle de Haar, which is well, how much time should it be from Amsterdam? Probably like 45 minutes away, maybe up to an hour from Amsterdam. Beautiful, beautiful castle. It's kind of what you would imagine what a European castle would look like.
Mhm.
This is it from the outside and from the inside.
But it's really interesting because it's kind of like what a castle would look like if it got hit with old Hollywood a bit.
Hmm.
On the
I would imagine
inside,
they probably do filming there too at one point or
They
another,
do.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
there have been movies and different things filmed there, and it has that kind of, I guess, old Hollywood kind of feel to certain rooms, to certain things.
yeah.
And it's really visually an incredible, incredible place to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't recommend it enough.
I was going to say, Neil, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. You were going to
That's
say
all right.
something?
Yeah, that's it only points out that there is it accentuates, I should say, that there is so much more to see in the Netherlands than
Oh,
just
yeah.
Amsterdam, and that is the mistake that a lot of people
They
make.
do.
But this is one example.
Okay, wonderful. So let's get into the content of your channel and what you guys do. What are some of the things that, I mean, you obviously you just launched something this last week about current news and understanding things in the travel industry, which is fantastic. What are some of the other things that you've built in as far as content goes? Because it looks like based on some of the videos that I've seen, you have a lot of recommendations and things that you do over a course of time. But talk to me about what differentiates you from other travel channels that are out there.
I would definitely say for us,
It's truly the community.
yeah.
Yeah.
That has really become the thing.
Yeah, when I brought up to you that we more so think of ourselves at this point in time as a community rather than just a channel, it's really true, and we see that more and more with the elements that we have been adding to our channel. So the live streams was the first element basically to add to that. Well, you've probably been in our live stream, so you've seen how we run that. We go over lots and lots of comments rather than just telling stories all the time. That is,
Yeah.
We like to have that conversation with other travelers.
Yeah, that's why we always say join the conversation.
And not so much exclusively focus on our own experiences and
No.
opinions, and but make everyone a part of that. And I think that is what truly sets us apart from other channels. That really high level of interactive content that we have.
Now, that's the thing too, is we wanted to do something a little different after our first year, because we have been doing this now a little over a year. And for year 2, we decided to go in with the travel news. Now, there are a lot of people that do that very, very, very well.
Yes.
They are very good at getting the flash news, getting it out there quickly.
Yeah.
And
they're basically the moment the news breaks,
they
already got it. Basically.
And that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's
and but we knew that wasn't us.
No.
And so, and they're doing a great job at it. And we wanted to do something a little different that was us. And so we look at the month that we just had. What were some of the highlights? What were things that were talked about in our community? How are different people feeling in our community about certain topics?
Right.
And bringing the community into the news and things that are going on with them.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be, I was very pleased with the first one. I think they're going to keep getting better.
Plus, too, there is an element to our community / channel that has a substantial bit of humor / comedy even at times. So, and we do not want to commit what I call murder of character by all of a sudden adding something to our channel, to our community that doesn't really fit in that.
Yeah.
And so no matter what elements we try to add, we always try to stick with our character.
Yeah.
So it is something new, and yet
us.
it fits like it is a piece of a puzzle. That is what we strive for.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So then let me ask you, based on the interaction that you've had with people within your community, what is the most common question that your viewers have asked?
Where's he from?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, do you have an accent?
Yeah, they pick up on an accent pretty fast in most cases. And yeah, you have such different accent, and where are you from? And yeah, that's how that comes about.
Okay.
The funny thing is when I've spent extensive time in Europe with him, and we even lived in Germany for a little while. For 3 months, we lived in the Munich area.
Well, that was you. I lived there longer.
You lived there longer. But when we came home, apparently I had picked up a little bit of an accent from being with his family and all of this and being in Europe. Because I mean, I was there for a little while.
Yep.
And
so we go to Walmart.
We go to the Walmart, and they're like, the cashier, she's like, "You have such distinct accents, and they're different from each other. Where are you two from?"
So for one, she got the question that I always get
and I'm
asked.
like, "I'm from down the street," you know.
It's that down the street accent. So I get it. So it's very different. But what is a question that you wish that your viewers would ask you once in a while? Something that would be just, I am so happy you asked me that question.
Honestly, when can I travel with you?
Yeah.
That would be a nice one.
Yeah, because
it only continues to build a community that we're trying to build.
Yeah.
And
we like to meet people.
We like to meet them and get to experience travel together with them and have a good time together.
We learn so much from other people.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons I opened my channel in the first place, was to try and educate. And that was a huge proponent of this. I said, to share culturally the groundbreaking of everything, traveling outside of the United States and understanding that what cultures mean around the world, and understanding it. Obviously with pandemic, it was really difficult to provide content. And so I was focusing more domestically at that juncture, but it makes a lot of sense to me in terms of the educational process, especially because of my background. What about in terms of, do you both have global entry or mobile passport at all? You do not. Interesting. With all the travel you do, I'm really kind of surprised about that. What about as far as your view on currency? Are you one of these people that you'll purchase some currency with you ahead of time before you leave, or when you arrive at your location?
If we need it, when we arrive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the time, I mean, like with going to the Caribbean and things, you don't really need it.
No.
Yeah.
They're very happy, even though we're in an all-inclusive resort, and even though the tips are supposedly included, we still tip.
You say supposedly included?
Yeah. They're supposed to be. I mean, they say that they're included, that you're not responsible to tip or anything like that. But these people are busting their butts.
Oh, they are. They are.
And I treat them accordingly.
Yeah.
So,
which is great. Which is why I imagine that you'll probably get really good service if you give additional tips. So on top of that, so that's always great. Okay, well, I do want to just wrap this up really quick. But again, I want to thank the both of you for your wonderful information. I want to be able to share some of that with my students, if that's okay with you. They can go and find you on YouTube, obviously, at To Travel and Tour on YouTube. They can also find you on Facebook under the same group as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Although awesome. The To Travel and Tour on YouTube, it doesn't have the and sign. It's actually
the actual and spelled out. Yep, exactly. So wonderful. Well, I really want to thank you both, Neil and Kimberly, for spending the time with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And so for my viewers that are out there, if you have any questions or comments you would like to share with me on this or anything else, you are more than welcome to send me a quick email at scott@theprofessortravel.com, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you on that. Now, if you're watching me on YouTube and you'd like to know when new videos get uploaded, simply click the bell icon right above us here in order to be notified about that. If you haven't already done so, please feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything at all, and we really appreciate that. And then if you like this content and you want to see more of it, give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate that too. But if you're listening to us on the podcast, please write a review, rate us. We really appreciate all feedback. So until next time, my name is Scott. I am the Professor Travel, and make every day a travel adventure. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.